Good morning and welcome everyone to Open Talk powered by TCC Technology. Today we will open talk with a gentleman who leads Buzzebee, from a startup to fast-growing business, dominating Thai market of over 90% in CRM privilege platform. Now let's join us to welcome Kun Michael Chen, the CEO of Buzzebee. สวัสดีค่ะ
Decap.
Good morning, Kun Michael. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, things are a bit tough at the moment with business, but other than that, it's great.
Okay, I'm sure you do well. Okay, let's start with our first question. Could you please tell us about the background of yourself, company, your inspiration, and your vision?
Sure. So Buzzebee, in case people who don't know us, Buzzebee, we are how we can call it, digital engagement platform is the best way to describe what Buzzebee does now. Mm-hmm. And it started off by building, focusing on CRM and focusing on loyalty. Building a CRM without loyalty just doesn't work. And to create engagement, you have to have a sort of a carrot to get the customer to come into the system. Mm-hmm. So the loyalty is the carrot, and to get them to come in. And that's what we built our platform on. And for that, depending on which of our clients we work with, each industry is slightly different. So we help some industries, we help with food delivery, some industry we help with e-commerce, some industry we help with just purely loyalty, some industry we help with dealers. So it depends on the customer need, but every single customer per customer needs to know their customers better and be able to engage in them. That's what the world has changed to. Mm-hmm. So Buzzebee, I started Buzzebee about 9 years ago. My style of business that I normally do is something that everyone thought was possible to do, and someone thought was very difficult. Okay. Mm-hmm. The reason I do that is not because I like a challenge. Actually, no. If I could find something easy, I would do it. Okay. The reason I do it that way is because, generally speaking, I'm not very good at direct competition. It's not my key strength. So anytime I compete with another company or I compete with consumers, usually I end up losing. So I usually like to pick something that has very difficult barrier to entry and requires very high skill set. Okay, and that's how I usually build a company. And by doing that, I know that if I can succeed, then most people other will fail. So that's sort of how I pick my business. Everyone told me, like, look, this is impossible. Don't do this. It's so difficult. And I knew that the world was changing. If you think back 9 years, if you look, iPhone only came out about 12 years. Facebook's been around 12 years, and the whole world has changed a lot since the smartphone of iPhone and social media. So from there on, I know that the way that the corporate brands will engage in their customers will change fundamentally. Okay, so what I thought is, how can I change my business and transform my business to something very digital and that will help the corporate bridge this gap in the future? Mm-hmm. And this was 9 years ago. And when I first started thinking about this idea, it was actually 10 years ago. And you think back 10 years, nobody understood what I was talking about. Okay, and I remember when the first 2-3 years when I started this business, about helping corporates envision that the world is going to be on social media, on smartphone. Most people thought I was crazy, and most people thought that, what are you talking about? What smartphone? They didn't really understand that. And I have to be honest, for the first 4 years, it was quite difficult to sell this pitch to corporates. So, and of course, time changed and things move on. And now it's pretty obvious I was right, and I'm lucky I'm right. And from there, the business has really grown. So right now, today, Buzzebee's vision and our goal is very simple. It's all about connecting businesses and connecting people together. And to do that, we basically create an ecosystem that allows us to help other businesses work together. Okay. And that's what effectively we are doing, and that's what we're doing for Buzzebee right now.
Mm. Okay, so you not only make it possible, but really impressive, right?
Well, yeah, that was the goal. I mean, most people thought I was crazy. So
Uh-huh.
so because it's not easy to do change of business.
Mm.
What I didn't mention is I have another business before Buzzebee, which is system integrator (SI), and we do fingerprint system for Doll Mall here in Thailand,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a very much a software business. The business was doing really good and does really good, makes very decent money, and frankly, I have no real reason to want to shift my business from my other company to focus on Buzzebee.
Mm-hmm.
But as you see from today's world, if it's very simple, if you're not moving forward, you're moving
Mm-hmm.
backwards.
Yes.
There's nothing in between anymore. It's not like a business like 100 years ago. I can be a 100-year business. I can be selling the same product over and over again, no competitor. Today's world, literally, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. So you have to pick. Doesn't matter how big you think you are. You have to
Mm-hmm.
pick which group you belong to. Right?
Okay.
And
Yes.
that's why at Buzzebee, I moved from my other business focus to this Buzzebee business. And lucky for me, it turned out well.
Okay. Good, Michael. What's the Buzzebee's target market?
Our main target market is actually, at the moment, actually, is mostly overseas. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we mostly, because we have such a fairly large user base in Thailand already, we
Yes.
support over 300 large corporates in our system.
Mm-hmm.
Our total user base for our corporate is over 80 million customers already. So that's, I mean, basically we run the largest ecosystem in Thailand already. Of course, we don't own any customers. Buzzebee doesn't have any customers. Our customers are our customers' customers, right?
Yes.
So we're just an enabling platform, right? We are an
Okay.
enabler. We help
Mm-hmm.
businesses connect to their customers.
Yes.
So our main focus is continue to grow the local market, to really use Buzzebee in Thailand as a training ground, a learning ground, understanding of what the platform can do and where the world is going. You'll be surprised, actually. Thailand, in terms of loyalty and digital, years and years ahead of other countries. You would be very surprised. Thai people are very adaptive, and Thai people are very open to new technology and new ways of doing things, whereas a lot of other countries are not. So actually, Thailand is a great place to be doing this. But my main focus myself actually is to grow beyond Thailand. Yeah, so most of my focus now is trying to see how we can go to Southeast Asia or globally. So that's of course been difficult with this COVID situation this year. Actually, this year was our main drive to push out beyond Thailand. So that sort of slowed down. I mean, I have an office in Malaysia. I have a business partner, the customers in Indonesia and Vietnam, and in Myanmar, in the Philippines, but nothing as big compared to Thailand. Okay, and so my goal is to replicate what I've done in Thailand in all the Southeast Asian countries. And then our longer term goal, let's say 5-year plan, is to have Buzzebee to be the next Salesforce. Right? And what I mean by that, Salesforce is a CRM. It stands for CRM. Okay, but
yes.
customer relationship management for Salesforce is very different than customer management system for Buzzebee. Salesforce is more focused on how do I help manage leads and opportunities for a corporate. Buzzebee is all about how do I reach the end consumer and scale. Okay, so what that means is if I'm looking at Salesforce, normally when I look at the opportunities, I look at individual opportunities in clients. For Buzzebee, there's no point looking at 10 million customers individually. It won't mean anything for you. The goal here for Buzzebee is creating a CRM so that you know how to segment your 10 million customers. You know which of your customers are value customers, which are your churn customers, what's the lifetime value of your customers, how your customer segmented should be split out between your customers. And therefore, we can understand them better so we can engage each group or segment customers differently.
Yes.
Right? That's more what Buzzebee does. Our job is not about every single customer and maximizing individual customers in lifetime value. That doesn't work for scale. That works
Mm-hmm.
for 1,000 people, but it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work for hundreds of thousands or tens of millions or millions of customers. It doesn't work. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what my vision of Buzzebee is to do, is to be the next Salesforce. And I think the key difference between what Buzzebee does today and where we will be in 5 years from now, when we say we want to be the next Salesforce, is because Salesforce, as of today, does not implement Salesforce. Salesforce has implementers who implement Salesforce.
Mm-hmm.
So as of today, Buzzebee still implements Buzzebee. We need to get the system to a point where it's productized enough, where we have other system integrators implementing Buzzebee around the world. So we need to get to that point where we are on the same level as Salesforce, and that will really help us grow exponentially. Because if you're implementing Buzzebee, there's only so fast you can scale, right? Because there's only so many people you can hire, right? And as you know, as the company gets bigger, the operation becomes more headache, HR becomes more issue. Scaling a company is not linear. It's not I add one person gets one output, add two person gets two output, right? So it doesn't work when you try to scale a company that way. So we want to scale the company where we can be a Salesforce, where we have lots of SI, system integrators around the world implementing Buzzebee on our behalf. And we are purely just a platform like that connects businesses together around the world. That's our goal.
Interesting goal. Okay, and you have big plan, right? Good Michael, what's the key to success?
To be honest, technology, the hard part about technology is that everything can be copied. Okay. It doesn't matter how good you think you are, how great you think your system is. Reality is most people think they can copy it. And in reality, if you throw enough money and resource at it, yes, you can copy it. Okay. And so the issue with technology is that the barrier to entry is often very low, at least perceived barrier to entry. You know, it doesn't mean it's actually very low, but it's just perceived barrier, right? So I think what happens is that the key to success is about understanding your client's needs and really living and breathing your client's business. Okay. So I never think of technology as something that's the reason why Buzzebee is so successful, right? I think the real reason that Buzzebee has grown so much in the last 9 years is because we truly believe it's ingrained in our culture. And every client I help, I work for them as if it's my own business. And I think about it as if it was me running their business, what would I need to do to make it successful? What do I need to do to help their business grow? Right. And I think that is the true differentiation between what Buzzebee does and other people do. There are plenty of people who provide technology and platforms, but very few people willing to sacrifice everything for the client. Okay. I give you a few examples here. We have a few clients where they use our system, but unfortunately they don't believe in our marketing strategy that we propose to them. Okay. So we say, look, let's do it this way. I will pay for the marketing for you. We will invest everything for you. Even by doing so, I will lose money on you. I will not make a cent. Actually, I lose money. But I want to prove to you, if we did it, it will grow. Now, I don't know how many vendors out there willing to do that for a client, right? Not only do we invest in the system and we lose money on the client, and we really just show the client that, and we invest the time and people to make sure it's successful. Right? So I think that is the key differentiation. And I think that is something most of our clients truly believe in, that when we work together, we don't think any one of our clients is a client. I think every one of our clients is a partner in the ecosystem. And everybody in our client in an ecosystem then can basically leverage off each other to grow the business, right? And I think that is the key difference. And I think one thing that I struggle with clients and partners, and when we talk with them is, most businesses, most people have the fear of failure and making mistakes. And the fear of failure and mistakes in today's world is a big problem. The people who fear failure and mistakes are the people who never evolve and never grow. And as I said before, in today's world, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. The problem with moving forward is you take risks. You take risks, you make changes. You make changes, you make mistakes, and you make errors. So a lot of times clients are upset up with us because they say, why does your system have this problem? Why you have this issue? Why you guys don't QC? Why? And my answer is always, I cannot promise you I will not make the same mistake again. I cannot promise you I won't make any mistake ever. But I will only promise you that I would never, ever leave a problem unattended, unfixed. I will not ignore a problem. I will make sure the problem is solved as fast as timely possible. I will give you that commitment. But if you want me to say that, I will guarantee you I will never make a mistake again. I said, please go find another vendor. Because there's nobody in this world, in any IT system, that doesn't have problems and doesn't have mistakes. I said, even Facebook, Google, banks, you just don't necessarily know about the problem. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? So that is all I can commit to my client. And I said, if that is not enough, then maybe I'm not the right partner for you. But I always tell my customer, I am absolutely 110% committed to your success, even more so sometimes than yourself. Right? I said, that I can guarantee you. All right. So I think that's the key differentiation and the reason for our success. And of course, is one aspect of myself that's probably a little bit different than most people in this world. And I would say that I work very hard. You listen to all the successful people in the world, like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Elon Musk, and all these people. There is no shortcut to success. Working hard is one of the fundamental principles. And I'm not your typical CEO. What that means is I'm still very hands-on. So if that means I have to go buy lunch for my staff, I will go buy lunch for my staff. If that means I have to help them debug the code, I will go debug the code. So I'm not the typical CEO. I just sit back and complain, or I will go and solve the problem. Just like last week, we had an issue with one of our big clients. It was midnight, and there was issues, and I know this customer hasn't been that happy with us. So I jump on board and I open up the database. I look at the problem. I sit with the support team. I help solve the problem with them, and I did that till 3 a.m. Okay. Now, so to make sure the system was running. Right? Now, to be very honest, you probably don't find many CEOs still doing that themselves. Right? But for the way I think is that do whatever it takes to be successful for the client, and sacrifice whatever it takes to get to the end goal. So that's sort of the way I think that the success of our business has grown, is because people believe in our mission and believe in what we're trying to do, and therefore it allows us to help drive the success of the business in general.
Okay, I really like that. You will do whatever it takes for your clients, and your commitment to client success is really important. As a startup, could Michael, how to start the business, and how do you see the opportunity?
Well, firstly, Buzzebee probably 9 years and 300 plus people. Probably not quite a startup anymore, but
just a sample for other startup.
I think startup is. I think I touched on it before. Right? I think the word startup is not quite correct. I think the definition is very different. I think startup is not about size. I think startup is about mentality of how we build a business. Okay. Now I'll give you an example. Let's say if you're selling Coke, all right, and you're selling Coke for the last 100 years, and that's not really a startup, right? Because you're selling the same product, the product keeps on going. The way you do business is constant. Nothing really changes. Okay. A startup mentality and culture comes from the fact that you believe fundamentally the business you're in is constantly evolving and changing. That means what you are doing today and what you're doing 12 months from now is not the same thing. In my point of view, that is the definition of a startup company. It doesn't matter whether you're 100,000 people or 50,000 people or one person. I think the definition comes down to the type of business you're doing. For example, is Tesla still a startup? Yes, it is. Is Facebook a startup? Yes, it is. Right?
Mhm.
So the definition of a startup is about, because why? Tesla is constantly evolving. Right? Someone
Mhm.
mentioned to me the other day, and I thought it was quite funny. They said, "What's the difference between NIO, the car company, and Tesla?" I said, "Well, actually, it's very different because NIO manufactures EV cars in China.
Mhm.
Tesla sells EV cars around the world. The only commonality you have between the companies, they sell electric cars.
Mhm.
But reality, Tesla is not a car company. Tesla is an energy company that sells cars.
Mhm.
NIO is a car company that sells cars. So you cannot compare these two companies in the same sentence because they're actually fundamentally very different companies, except they're both selling cars at the moment. Right? It's like try to compare Apple to, let's say, Vivo from China. Okay, they both sell smartphones, but I
Mhm.
think everybody would agree it's very different companies, right? So I think the mentality of startup is the business you're doing constantly evolving? If the answer is yes, then you're a startup. And what that does is that allows you to push the envelope of what you need to change constantly. Okay, because that means whatever you're doing today, you can expect 12 months from now it won't be the same.
Mhm.
Okay. So recently I've been working on another startup company, and I won't give you the details, but it's related to finance. And I
Okay.
talked to the bankers, and the bankers love to tell you, look, Michael, I don't think this will work. I go, why not? They said, because the product you're talking about won't be there forever. And I say,
Mhm.
well, how long will it be there for? I said, it's been there for the last 10 years already. So how long forever? I said, look, in tech, if a product lasts 12 months, I'm super happy already. Right? But to a banker, it's got to be indefinite. You see, so the mentality and thinking is so different.
Mhm.
Like what
Yes.
they see as risks and does not work to me is just that's normal. That we have to do that anyway. Otherwise, we will die.
Mm.
Right? So the startup mentality is that I can tell you that 9 years ago when I started Buzzebee to today, fundamentally what I've been trying to do is the same. But how I go about doing it has completely changed. And the reason I'm still so, I guess, hands-on and still quite tired in terms of building this company is because it's not the same. Every single day something's changing.
Mm.
Right? So therefore, the company is not stable, as in the company itself is still growing and changing and evolving.
Mhm.
So that's where the startup mentality is important. So that keeps your company agile and keeps your company allows you to adapt and change
Mhm.
with technology and time. Now, if you look at that for other startups, that's the same situation. In
Mhm.
Thailand, to be honest, it's very tough to be a startup in Thailand because the opportunity is quite small. And what I mean by small is because you already know this, you're part of one. 99% of the businesses in Thailand are owned by probably 12 families, and when you're in that situation, it's very hard to build a business that's not part of that 12 families. And it's very hard to work with these 12 families because these 12 families are so big that everywhere you touch is always touching the same family. And the opportunity becomes much smaller because of that. Right? Because it's very hard to get into those channels. Right? It's like us trying to go to IBM, very difficult. Right? So it's not because the families or the business themselves. It's just because of sheer size and the politics involved in getting into those businesses is the difficulty. Right? So for startups in Thailand, it's very difficult to be able to grow and scale because of that. Right? And as a result, startups in Thailand it does struggle a lot. Okay. And I think another part of startups in Thailand, I think one thing I would mention is that a lot of startup companies I talk to, they still so young and they still don't have the grasp of fundamental business.
Mhm.
Okay, what I mean by fundamental business means is the startup you're doing, what is the market size opportunity?
Mhm.
What is the penetration rate? What is your business model? How you
Mhm.
plan to make money off this, right? So with the startup hype a few years ago, if you look Thailand, there's a lot of hype a few years ago about startup, right? Now sort of faded away. Why? Because people realize you can't just build a business to raise funds without real fundamental business model, right? That doesn't work for long term. It may work for short term to raise funds, but when your fund runs out, you run out of money, you just shut down the company. So fundamentally, you have to have a solid business model, and you must have a solid business before you can understand whether the opportunity is even worth your time to invest in. Right? So I think often I see the biggest gap for startup is this: they don't have that clear understanding what it takes to build a real business, and that's where they would often struggle as well.
Okay. Good Michael, how do you balance between the product diversification versus focus on CRM?
You hear a lot from very successful people. Even people talk about this all the time, from like Steve Jobs and everybody, right? And they always say, focus, 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 right? Because and you should say no more often than you should say yes when it comes to new opportunities. And as the company gets bigger, I realize, and now I know why it's so hard to say no to everything, because everywhere you look, there's money.
Yes.
Okay. There's opportunities everywhere to make money. And you realize, wow, I can make money here, I can make money here, I can make money here. And then what happens is that you tend to lose focus and you want to do everything. Right. And that's what I mentioned before about the 12 families. It's not because they're bad people or anything. It's just as the business gets bigger and bigger, you see opportunities everywhere to make money, right? And by nature, for us, we will say, okay, why don't we do that business? Why don't we expand in this business? Why don't we expand? It's the same thing, right? The question with the technology is a little different, is that we have to stay focused, because technology, you can't be the best at everything, okay? Because technology is different than business. For example, let's say we compare 7-Eleven to Family Mart, or to just go Lotus Express. Let's say we compare convenience stores in general in Thailand. Customer walks in and buys a can of Coke. It doesn't matter which convenience store you buy from; it's the same can of Coke, right? The level of service quality is not going to differentiate so much between brands and convenience stores. Okay, so what that means is that to make a business work, your success rate or your failure rate or your ability to make a business successful doesn't have to be 99.99%. Okay, so if you're doing 60%, your business still runs. People are still walking in the store, still buying Coke. Maybe just buy less Coke, but still buying Coke, right? So the fundamental of a non-digital business doesn't require such high accuracy for success, and still be successful at the business, right? So the way I see it is this: if you look at an IT business, it's very different. A technology business, and this is a common problem. Nobody ever compliments how great your team is in IT when nothing goes wrong. No one says, "Wow, you're so fantastic." You never hear that. All you hear is people complain to you when it doesn't go. But let's say 365 days a year. Let's say you have one day with a problem. Those people are going to remember that one day, not other 364 days that it worked perfectly. So what that means is that in technology, the error rate you have is so low that it's less than single digit of percentile that you have to be spot on. And as a result, you can't be the best at everything you do. Otherwise, that error rate starts going up because you spread yourself too thin. So what happens when you spread yourself too thin? Your error rate starts increasing. And when your error rate starts increasing, you start to lose customers. And you start to lose the growth capability of your business. And then ultimately, in the long run, it's a detriment to your business. So staying focused on what you're doing is very, very difficult. And I can tell you honestly, I still don't think I'm doing a very good job of it, to be honest. It's really difficult. If you look at what Buzzebee does, we do fundamentally, yes, digital engagement platform, CRM, but we also do e-commerce, POS, right? We do big data, We do everything you can think of under the moon, payment. So is it too much? I have my reasons for certain things that I'm doing,
Mhm.
but does that mean I'm right? No idea. Time will tell. Right. So
Mhm.
I already drop out a lot of things that comes right in front of me. I drop it out a lot of it already.
Mhm.
But even still, I should probably drop out another 6 or 7 things as well. Right. But I can't get myself to do that right now because I still believe those are things that needed in the longer term goal of what, right? 10 years from now, I may look back and I say, oh, that was stupid. Why did I do that? That was such a waste of time. Right.
Mhm.
But looking back is easy. Looking forward is difficult. Right. As
Yes.
Steve Jobs said, you can't connect the stars looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards.
Mhm.
Right. Because
Yes.
nobody knows how the dots connect together in the future. You can
Mhm.
just hope that the dots will connect together. But it's easy always to look back and say, oh yeah, these dots connected like this. Yeah, everybody's uh, a genius at that time, right?
Mhm.
So I think the reality is that nobody really knows, and staying focused is the hardest thing for all business, and including startups.
Mhm. Yes, I see. So it's difficult to focus because lots of opportunity coming, right? Now
Yes.
then we will move on to the new topic about people. How do you build the strong corporate culture?
Yeah, that's. I think I should be taking lessons from other people on that one. Actually, to be honest. Well, so as I mentioned, Buzzebee is around 350 people right now,
Mm,
and that's not a small company anymore. And
mhm.
it was easier when you have 50 people, right?
Yes.
Everybody's friends, and as a rule of thumb goes that above 100 people, you really start losing connection to those people, right? There's no direct connection to those people.
Yes.
So what I realized a few years ago was after we had more than 100 people, we started to lose the company culture. Right?
Mm,
A lot of the fundamental things that what myself and my partner thinks is important fundamentally to our business, the way we work, started to get lost, diluted.
mm,
Right?
mm.
Because people who work for me, I don't even know them sometimes, right? Sometimes we go in the same lift, they smile at me, I don't even know they're my staff, right? Because there's no way you would know 300 odd people, right? Or
Mm,
1,000 people, or 10,000. It's just not possible, right? And creating a company culture that continues to be in the same way you originally founded the company is very difficult, right? So 2 years ago, we had an idea that we should have what we call lunch on. Every Thursday, we have a lunch on, and the company would provide the lunch for the staff, right?
mm,
And we would do cross-functional teams,
mm,
and we would invite everybody from senior executives all the way to the junior workers
mhm,
to come into the session to talk about our company core values. Okay.
mm,
So our
mm.
company has around 10 core values. If you come to my office, you'll see that when you come out of the lift, we have these
Mm.
10 core values put on the wall. And
Oh.
those core values are, they're not values that I got some PR person to write. Those core values come from me. I'm the one who
Mm.
wrote those 10 core values. And
Okay.
those 10 core values is what I tell my staff on those Thursday lunch. So my HR will show them this week we are talking about this core value. And we will show them a short video of someone talking about this core value, a very famous person or whatever. And then we would then say, please tell us how you think this core value applies to you. And we would hear from every person. Usually that session has 20, 30 people.
Mhm.
And then everybody would tell us about the way they think about that core value. And then at the end of it, myself and my partner, the two of us, which attend every lunch every Thursday,
Mhm.
and we would tell them why this core value is on the wall and why it's important to our company, why it's important to my life, and why it's important to me.
Mhm.
Right? So those are kind of the core values we want to share with the staff, why we built this company, how we built this company, and
Mhm.
why we are here today. so that they can take that learning and apply it to their day-to-day life and to their job, so that they can become better people and hopefully will then keep the company culture all the way down to the junior staff, right? Now, as we get to 1,000 people, maybe that has to change again. But as of right now, it still works. We just go through those core values. You know, and an example of a core value would be like accepting failure as a sign of success. That's a core value, right? Because failure is something we all fear, right? But as Thomas Edison and many people said that I didn't fail 10,000 times in inventing the light bulb. I learned 10,000 times how not to build a light bulb, right? So these are the kind of things that people by nature, like my son who's 5, he when he screw up something, he would always either cry or always not want to lose or always not want to fail. It's in human nature to be scared of failure from the day we are born. So the really successful people in this world are all the ones who can embrace failure and learn from that and become successful, right? It doesn't matter whether it's Jeff Bezos. If you ask Jeff Bezos, he goes, man, I don't know how many things I failed in Amazon. You just didn't hear about any of them. You only see what success I had, right? Or Elon Musk with Tesla. He was 1 month away from bankruptcy. He poured every dollar he had as wealth into Tesla, right? Or Elon Musk with SpaceX. He said from day one, I knew SpaceX would fail. And someone asked him in the interview in 60 Minutes, so why did you do it if you knew it was going to fail? He says, because the fear of failure, but the end cause is more important than the fear of failure. That's why I do it. But they say, why? Why are you so confident? Why are you not scared of failure? He goes, no. I am scared of failure. Everybody's scared of failure. It's whether that the cause will overcome that fear of failure or not. Right? So that's just one example of, you know, one of my company goals. Of course, we have lots of different goals, right? You know, and so we talk about these goals to our staff and all this company and things. And when we try to explain to them each one how it applies to how I build the company. And we hope they can learn from that and apply it to their day-to-day life. Actually, all our company goals and our company values actually doesn't apply to work. No, it applies to your life. Right? And like work hard and work smart. That's one of our, that's common said, right? You know, and there's no shortcut to success. You know, these are company values we have. And I have to explain that to them. Look, success doesn't mean money. Money is just a byproduct of success. But everybody's life definition of success is different. What is your definition of success? If it's money, great. If it's having a family, great. Whatever it is, you got to define it for yourself. And then you got to set that goal and see how we can achieve it. All right. Then you'll have happiness and you'll have everything else. That will define the success in your life. And with that success, if you're working here, I believe our company will grow because of that. All right. And that's the kind of mentality we want to build on to create company culture.
Okay. This must be a very interesting session and interactive, right?
Very, 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 yeah.
Okay. And what's your ecosystem consisting of, and how do you strengthen your ecosystem?
So Buzzebee, because Buzzebee, we are, as we mentioned before, we are a CRM platform and digital engagement platform, right? So what that means is that we are not tied to a specific industry, okay? So that means it doesn't matter if you look at our customers, we have everything from banking, insurance, fuel, telcos, to FMCG, to retail, right? What that means is that our ecosystem is trying to build of all industries, okay, all corporate. And the goal here is to be able to bring them onto the ecosystem so they can cross-sell to their customers. Okay, for give you an example, insurance company does not conflict with Samsung, right? Insurance company does not conflict with telco, right? A gas company doesn't conflict with a bank, right? So if you have enough industries and you have enough people in this ecosystem, then you're able to build the ecosystem where people can increase their lifetime value of the customers, build loyalty, at the same time, increase their profitability and reducing costs. Okay. So what that means is, if you look at it this way, if I ask you today, how do you reach your consumers today? Okay, and the answer is very simple. On digital, there's only 2-3 channels. Right? You have Google, you have Facebook, right? And you have in Thailand maybe Line. That's it. None of those channels are owned by you as a corporate. Right? You are leveraging off their ecosystem to be able to reach the customers. You are at their mercy. Whatever they want to do, whatever price they want to charge, you have to pay. Okay. Now I'm not saying that's a bad thing. For example, I own tons of stock in Facebook. Every spare dollar I have, I go buy Facebook stock. Okay. But what that does mean is very bad for businesses. Okay. Because you can't control anything. Okay. And the best analogy of the ecosystem I'm trying to build is, the best analogy will be like MasterCard Visa. Okay. I think most people knows what MasterCard Visa does. Okay. MasterCard Visa is basically a switching interchange platform that allows a issuer of the bank who issues the credit card to the merchant who accepts the payment. Right. And it doesn't matter who the issuing bank is. It doesn't matter who the acquiring merchant is. Right. Bottom line, as long as you use a MasterCard Visa, you can make payment. Right? So that's the best analogy I can give you. The ecosystem I'm building is exactly the same. The only difference is that I'm trying to build it for not just payment. I'm trying to build it for everything else, including payment. So that means purchasing transactions, cross loyalty platforms, point redemption. Right? We try to build a whole ecosystem of customer data so that you can be a Facebook, but not tied to Facebook. Right? If you look at, to be honest, like for example, MasterCard Visa does not exist without the banks. MasterCard Visa is nothing. Actually, they have nothing. They're just the guys in the middle. Right? But without MasterCard Visa, the banks can't issue the credit card. So it's a mutual relationship. It's a self-destructive relationship. If one person pulls out, one party pulls out, everybody dies. Right? Without either party, there's no success. So what I want to do with Buzzebee is build exactly the same thing. Everybody fear that, oh, Buzzebee, you collect all the data. Well, if I don't own the customer. So if everyone pull the customers out, I have nothing. I'm left with nothing. Right? So, but at the same time, if I can build this ecosystem, if you walk out, you lose access to the ecosystem. So you also have nothing. Right? So it's a zero-sum game. Without the parties involved, you have nothing. Right? But if you look at MasterCard Visa, they only need to charge 0.1%, 1 basis point, and look how much money they make. Because why? It's at a global scale. Right? So my vision is to connect the world together on this ecosystem on Buzzebee and let every business transact off each other to leverage our customers to grow their business without having to pay the premium through Facebook or Apple or whoever. You think about it. You look at Apple recently with a big fight with Fortnite. My God, Fortnite tried to circumvent, they blocked them. Why? Because Apple wants the 30%. 30%. Jesus, 30%. Buzzebee's margin is less than 3%, and I'm a tech company, right? If you look at MasterCard Visa, their margin is like 0.1%, and they can still make that much money, right? And here you are, Apple saying, no, I need 30%. I mean, I'm not anti-Apple. I mean, they're good for them. They built a monopoly, but to be honest, it's not good for. I would not say not good for the world in terms of having a few big companies that own everything. Right? In my point of view, as much as I love Facebook, these guys need to be regulated and they need to be split up. But how is a different question. If you split it up incorrectly, you would destroy the ecosystem of the world. But if you don't do it, they control everything. So it's a tough one. It's a fine line. I'm not saying easy problem to solve. I wouldn't like to be the regulator who's trying to solve that. But say that they can continue on the way they're doing without regulation, I think it's not good as well, right? So the problem is that when you have an ecosystem that's independent of any other party and only owned by that party,
Mm-hmm.
you have an issue, right? So in Buzzebee ecosystem case, we're just trying to add more people. Let's put it this way: Buzzebee have no competitors. I'm happy to work with anybody
Mm-hmm.
because we are just a middleman in the middle, in the back, just like Mastercard.
Mm-hmm.
We don't compete with anybody. Anybody want
Mm-hmm.
to work together with us, we're open to working together. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Even if that means I will sacrifice my revenue for their gain, I will do it. If it adds to the ecosystem, I will do that. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of the concept.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's huge ecosystem, no? And you already addressed the key challenge within your ecosystem, right? Could Michael how to create the stickiness for your customers' application?
Okay. So as I mentioned, the reason you have the loyalty program is to create stickiness. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
if you look at today's world, there's not many platform has stickiness by itself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The few example I give you that does have that is Facebook, Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
um, Spotify with music, or YouTube, or Netflix. They're all entertainment related or social related, right? Because human by nature are social animals. We all want to go on social media to see what our friends are doing or post what we're doing, right? And keep ourselves entertained with music, gaming, or movies, right? So these are the only few platforms in the world that has really high stickiness, right? And there's a reason why Facebook has over 2 billion users per
Mm-hmm.
day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
so there's a really clear example of stickiness. Now imagine you're an insurance company. Why would my consumer be sticky to an insurance company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's the opposite. Actually, I want to buy insurance policy, and last time I never want to hear about insurance again, if possible. Because if I'm hearing about insurance, that means I'm sick or I have an accident, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so by nature, an insurance company will never have really stickiness with their customers.
Uh-huh.
Right? So, how do you build a stickiness aspect to a customer? So, this is where one, the insurance company must recognize that I must want to build a relationship with my customer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing. If they don't even recognize that, then don't bother, right? Because they won't matter. Once they accept that, they will build a relationship with their customer. Then they have to say, look, how much am I willing to give back to my customer?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because there's no magic sauce. There's no secret tool, and there's no silver bullet that's gonna
Mm-hmm.
create stickiness with the customer. That just doesn't
Yes.
exist. If
Mm-hmm.
some marketing firms tell you that, they're selling you magic, which is not real. There's no magic sauce. Reality, the loyalty is just a tool to say it. Because I always give the customer this example. You want to build customer loyalty, you want to build customer engagement. Imagine this. Imagine you told every one of your customers that if they log into your application, they download your application today, I will give every customer iPhone.
Oh.
Do you think how many of your customers not going to download?
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you have 99% people downloading one day.
Yes.
But the question is, as a business, can you afford to give one iPhone to every customer? Right? The answer is always no. Right? So, but that gives you the idea of why a loyalty program will work. Right? It's the threshold. What is
Mm-hmm.
the threshold? What is the triggering point for a customer worth their time enough to come into your brand, engage in your brand in
Mm-hmm.
exchange for something? Now, the
Mm-hmm.
question is, what is that something? Is that something a cup of coffee? Is that something a donut? Is
Mm-hmm.
that something a top up airtime? Is that
Mm-hmm.
something a car? Is that something a phone? Like, so what is that something? In
Mm-hmm.
every business, in every industry, that something will be a different value, right? So,
Yes.
of course, so that this is where the brand needs to decide what is that something? How much is that customer worth to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the challenging part. Okay, as I gave you example before, I sacrifice my revenue, my profit for my client to show to them that it will work. But is there an ROI, return on investment, on that model? Of course, the answer is no. Okay, why? Because imagine this. Imagine if you're an FMCG product that sells through Tesco, Lotus, Top Supermarket today. Okay? Anything you sell online will have no relevance in terms of volume percentage in terms of your total sales, right? Because 99.9999999% of your sales is through traditional modern trade channels and mom and pop shops. So the minute you move to digital and you say, look, I want to grow digital, but you want it to be economically viable, my answer is don't waste your time. Stop right there. Okay, those two things don't go in the same sentence as of today. Now, if you want to do e-commerce to sell your products to your consumer, you must treat it as a R&D exercise, as an investment into the future, and with knowing that you will lose money every time you sell something. Now, you imagine that traditional business with a CEO who's responsible for that, to make that decision, to dare to make that decision, to be agile enough, as I mentioned, to have the mentality of a startup. Say, you know what? I'm willing to put my job on the line. I can tell you very few corporate executives will ever do that. Ever. Right? The startup mentality comes from the founder. Will you sacrifice everything for that business? Right? But if you're a CEO getting paid $1 million a month, I don't care. I'm just gonna work my 5 years and I'm out of here. Right? So it's very difficult. I'm not saying every CEO of the world is that way. Right? I'm not saying every executive is that way, but I'm saying a big percentage of them are that way. Right? Nobody wants to rock the boat. Right? So creating that stickiness is a commitment to your company's future. Now, if you don't recognize it that way, I always tell customers, don't waste your time doing it because it's just a waste of time. If you're doing it because you have a checkbox that in your KPI, this year I must do digital. Okay, fine, you can do it for the sake of that. But don't have the expectation it's going to grow. Don't have the expectation it's going to sustain itself. Right? You're doing it because one of your KPI items that must do. Right? Versus, I really believe in the future. I really believe in this is important to my business 5 years from now. And I can tell you honestly, of my 300 clients, I would say probably less than 2% of them actually think that way.
Oh.
Which means another 98% just want to do it because they have to do it. Right? Because why? I can see from the commitment versus the total revenue of their business. They're not serious about it. Right? Because nobody wants to be a guinea pig. Nobody wants to put their head on the chopping block. Right? Now, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just telling you that this is the way it is for the corporate world right now. And if we don't create the right culture for these corporate companies, that's why you see companies dying a lot. Right? As I said, you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. Right? Because you want to stick your head in the sand and believe that your business won't be disrupted. That's fine. That's exactly what all the car companies did for Tesla for the last 9 years. Right?
Yes.
So it comes down to the fundamental, the way we think. So the question is, can we create stickiness? Absolutely. Do you want to fund it? Now that's more question. Right? So we have the tools. I can show you how to do it. But do you have the money and commitment to follow through? Is a completely different story.
Okay. So it's not just the loyalty, privilege, or rewards, but also have to like put the heart and also the commitment in terms of money also, right?
Yes. I mean, you have to believe in it. You have to believe in that this will fundamentally change your business somehow in the future. Right?
Yes.
If you don't believe that, like I said, it's just a checkbox next to it. Oh, I got this thing done. Right? That's
yeah. So we cannot drive it successfully if we do that way, right? Okay. Kun Michael, you used to mention that you don't have to find information, but today information finds you. Could you please help elaborate that?
Oh, actually, I probably said that years ago
Yes,
already.
yes.
Yeah, so I would imagine today most people sort of have a good understanding of that, right?
Mhm.
You just go look for, you don't even need to look for. For example, when you just talk about something at home with your wife, right, or husband, and then all of a sudden you see on Facebook, why is there advertising about what I just talked about,
Mm.
right? Because Facebook is listening to everything you're saying, and they're monitoring what you want to buy, what you're doing, and they will feed you an ad for that product, right?
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
you go to a website, search for something in Google, all of a sudden you see it advertised on your Facebook or through a
Yeah.
website.
Uh-huh.
So the world together, everything's interlinked already, right?
Mhm.
There is no standalone, right? With AI and technology, the digital world frankly knows us better than we know ourselves, right?
Mhm. Yes.
And what that means is that if you have the right AI, the right algorithm, the information that's being fed to us will be spot on, and the accuracy of what we see will be exactly what you're looking for. So
Mhm.
the need to find things nowadays is becoming less and less and less and less and less, right? And people like Facebook, once they really know you, I mean, I don't know if you in recent years, Facebook have algorithms check, every photo you post, they look at
Uh-huh.
what color your shirt you're wearing and the
Mhm.
style of shirt, so that they know that, oh, this person likes blue, and this person likes to wear suits, or this
Mhm.
person likes to wear casual clothes. Can you
Mhm.
imagine once they know that, they just feed you advertising based on that, right?
Yeah.
So, so information is becoming less and less relevant, and that's not good actually. For example, if you look at YouTube or Facebook, once you start looking at a particular topic,
Mhm.
it keeps on feeding you the same topic. So right, so
Yes.
so that's why the political world has changed a lot. Because if I'm anti-Trump, the only thing I will ever see is anti-Trump. I will never see anti-Biden on the other side of it.
Uh-huh.
Right. So this is where the
Yeah.
problem exists, because the AI will predict what you like and feed
Mhm.
you what you like. It doesn't mean that's the fact. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean that's the right thing. It doesn't care about neutrality. It doesn't care. Oh, you
Mhm.
should hear both sides of the story. They don't care, right? So
Yeah.
so so that's the problem with the information finding you. It may be finding the wrong information to you or
Mhm.
biased information to you,
Mhm.
but you don't need to search for it.
Okay. Uh, could Michael, in your opinion, what's the coming technology trend?
Well, I think I just touched on one of them, which is AI. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so
Yeah.
AI is definitely a big one, and this is a very sensitive topic to everybody, because if you're not careful, AI will replace humans, and
Mm.
there's no way any human can outdo a computer. Okay,
Mhm.
it's just a matter of how much processing power we have to simulate an AI.
Mhm.
So with quantum computing coming out in the future, AI will replace 99% of all human thinking. Okay,
Mm.
and that's going to be scary. That will evolve. We'll see how that evolves. We don't know right now, but we'll see how that evolves. Okay, but as you can
Mhm.
see today, with the algorithms running for predictive, it's
Mhm.
pretty accurate already.
Mm.
And the second thing that will change, and I think this has made it more clear through this COVID situation, actually, is
Mm.
esport.
Mm.
Esport is a much bigger business than anybody can imagine. Right?
Mhm.
Esport is bigger than all physical sports already.
Mm.
I can be sitting at home anywhere in the world
Yes.
and watch live streaming going on, whether it be football, racing, or gaming.
Mhm.
Right? And I don't need to physically be there. I don't need to buy a ticket. Right?
Mhm.
And so esport will, and it's proven through this COVID situation that, hey, you can't actually go there anyway if you wanted to. Right? So, and also esport has a much bigger group of audience than just
Mhm.
physical sports, because esport covers everything from small kids to
Mhm.
a older generation as well.
Yes.
So, that is something that, and it's because of the accessibility, it becomes much bigger, because you have a bigger audience.
Mm.
All right. So if you want to go watch a football game, you have to have physically 50,000 seats. Right. But to watch an e-football game, I can have 10 million seats or a billion seats without any issue because it's not real. Right.
Mm.
So the e-sport is where the future is going to be in the next 4 or 5 years. The world's going to change in terms of how we see sports. Right. And the whole marketing business is going to change because of e-sport in the future. Right. So I think these two are very, very big things that will happen in the next, in my opinion, the next 4 or 5 years. Okay. But I think in my point of view also, if you look at the future and how business will run, right? I think fundamentally business won't. You can't move everything to digital. Okay. So you can't say, oh, tomorrow there's no more supermarket. I think that is quite challenging. Right? I think the world is not going to get to that point. But I think what will be more clear in the future is about D2C, right? Direct to customers, right? So what will happen in the future is that the brands will bypass the supermarket. They don't no longer need to go to the supermarket. They can just directly sell to consumers. And that is clearly signs we've seen through COVID, right? A lot of brands go through Buzzebee platform selling direct to consumers, right? Now, as I told you before, as of right now, not economical. There's no ROI. But it doesn't mean 2 years from now it's not economical. It doesn't mean 5 years from now. It's just not as of today. Problem is if you don't do it today, you'll be too late to catch up 5 years from now. Right? So D2C is something that all corporate brands should invest in, because the minute you do the D2C, like when we help our customers do D2C, we build a CRM for them. We know their customer lifetime value. We know their behavior. We know what they're buying. Versus I distribute to my distributor. My distributor gets to top supermarket, Tesco, Lotus. We don't know who buys it. Right? So data is key for the future of how we interact with our customers. And you can prove that from Amazon, from Facebook, through all these big giants, right? So now the corporates are getting onto that and they understand that. Right. So this is something that's going to be very big in the future. And D2C, that the business have no choice. They have to start moving towards that. Right.
Okay. And good, Michael, what's the difference of CIM market in Thailand versus abroad?
To be honest, actually, it's not much different. To be very honest, it's about the same. Okay. CRM is needed everywhere in the world. And the one I always tell people is think of it this way: tell me which country in the world that does not have airline points. Okay, if you tell me loyalty doesn't work, then no country in the world will have airline points. Okay, then nobody would bother collecting airline points. If airline point is considered universal for loyalty, then every country in the world will want loyalty in some form, manner in the digital world. And there's no corporate in the world that would tell me, I don't care about my customers. I don't need to know who they are, and I don't know what they're doing. Right? There is no CEO in the world that will say that. If your CEO said that, if you were the board, you better be finding this new CEO very fast, right? But the reality is that everybody needs CRM. It doesn't matter whether you're in Thailand, whether you're in South Africa, or in North America. It doesn't matter which country in the world. They all need it. But the way you go about engaging them may be different, right? So as I told you, Thailand is years ahead of other countries in terms of loyalty and engagement through the offline stores. China, all digital, right? Loyalty is very easy for them. But in a lot of countries, like let's say Europe or Australia, New Zealand, if you look, those countries, even mobile phone payment is almost 0%. Forget about loyalty. Just mobile payment doesn't exist. Why? Well, Europe and Australia, New Zealand, they're not backwards countries. They're the most developed countries in the world. So why does it not work? There's no need, because everybody can live off one tap card and just use the card to tap. Why do I need to even open my phone? That's even more troublesome, right? So it doesn't come out of need. That's why it doesn't grow. Right? But loyalty in every country in the world is going to be needed. Understanding their customer is going to be needed, right? And these are the reasons why I don't think there's much difference between Thailand and other countries, right? Now, if Buzzebee doesn't succeed in our mission, then somebody will. Okay, it may not be me. I may not be good enough to do it. and I may not have the capability to do it, but somebody will figure it out. Okay, so I hope it's me, but if it's not, then somebody will figure this out.
Mhm. Okay. How do you think about the intense competition in delivery platform players like Grab, Gojek, Line, Robinhood, or Eatable?
Yeah, my simple answer is there's no differentiation in the product itself. Okay, and the core fundamental is the same. Okay, if you look at like Lazada, Shopee, and JD, what's the difference? Right, you buy the same product on all three platforms. Right, so it's unfortunately, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Unfortunately, it's just a money game. Okay, whoever has the deeper pockets will win. That's it. Simple as that. Right?
Okay.
I'm probably a lot of people are not going to like me for me saying this, but let's put it this way: Robinhood doing food delivery through SEB. It's a great idea, but how are you going to fund it? There's no way the bank is going to pour billions of baht year after year into food delivery. Not that the platform is not good. The platform is fine. Not that it doesn't work. It's perfectly fine. Right? I don't know if you heard of a guy called, his name is Simon Sinek. He talks about the infinite game. I love this guy. He's one of my favorite guys I listen to. There's no business winners and losers, right? Because business is infinite. It keeps on going. If I'm the CEO today, I die, tomorrow takes over, the company keeps on going, right? There's no end. There's no winner and loser. You may be number one today, you'll be number two tomorrow, right? The only thing that happens in the infinite game is you stop fighting because your will to fight is gone, right? Your will to fight is gone is why you either run out of resource or you just run out of will, right? In this case, resource is just money, right? So with whoever the last man standing, whoever has the most money, because I can tell you the will is not going to disappear. Whether it's Lazada, Shopee, or JD, or Grab, or a lineman, or whoever, the will is not going to disappear. The will be there to fight. Okay. The question is, do they have the resources to fight with? Right. And in the real world, most of them don't have the resources, that infinite resource. Right. So if you look at Shopee as a good example, Shopee and Lazada, let's just do a direct comparison. Who supports Shopee? Shopee is funded by SEA, which is listed in the NASDAQ, which their stock is doing fantastically well, right? And every time they can use their stock growth and raise more capital, and they can continue funding it. Who funds Lazada? You have Alibaba.
Yeah.
Alibaba being the largest e-commerce system I would say in the world, actually, in my point of view, bigger than even Amazon. If you look at the transactional volume, Alibaba is over twice the volume of Amazon, but at 1/10 of the value, which is strange. Okay, so and it's only growing, right? It's only growing, and Alibaba has always been profitable, very profitable, right? And now they're going to even be more profitable eventually with Ant Finance IPOing eventually. It will only grow. So you can imagine if I was Shopee and Lazada, if I was a bettor, and I'm going to bet on this 10 years from now, who are you going to bet on? All right. Now, I'm not saying that Shopee will lose for sure. I'm not saying that at all. But generally speaking, it's the one last man standing.
Yeah.
And if you're a betting man, then you will probably bet on the highest probability. Right. Now, Lazada may completely, they may not be interested. Maybe after a while, Alibaba just gives up. But I don't think so. Right. I said, like I said, the will won't disappear. Right.
Yeah.
Now, Shopee may come up with something really clever and huge market share, right? And they may own 90% market share. But once again, that's nothing that money can't solve. Right? So, like I told you, if I give you every customer who buys on Lazada a free iPhone, everybody will move from Shopee to Lazada tomorrow, right? So I mean, I just give you very extreme examples, but the concept is no different, right? So that's just the money factor. That's just the money factor. So that's why I say, in my point of view, when these people are competing, they're not competing on technology. They're not competing on platform. They're competing on money because the platform, the technology, they're all doing a fantastic job already. They have such great systems already, all of them. Right? So then what's remaining? It's just purely marketing and money. Right? So that's why I told you from the beginning, I never see Buzzebee as really great at technology. Technology is always copy it. You can always copy it. Right? The one you can't copy is spend more money. Right? So I wish I could do that, but unfortunately you can't. So in the end, it just comes down to that. Who is the last man standing? Who runs out of resources last is the winner. Right?
Okay. So money is matter, right?
Yeah, for that game, yes.
Okay. And this is my last question. What's the next big things for Buzzebee?
For us, to be honest, as I told, I think I mentioned it briefly before. My big thing for Buzzebee is to be the next Salesforce. Right? I need to have people implementing Buzzebee around the world. Right? And that's what I'm trying to do. Okay, and I have a lot of focus this year on that, and I'm hoping that we can get to that point in the next 4 to 5 years. Okay, and that's my goal. And we have plans to go IPO in Thailand here in a couple of years' time. Originally, it was this year, not with COVID. So probably going to be 2022, Q1 or Q2. We'll probably use our financial numbers from 2021 for the filing. We've been trying to go IPO for quite a few years, preparing for it. Originally, as I said, it was meant to be for late this year, but that because of COVID, it does impact our revenue top line, and so therefore, you don't want to go IPO like that. Right? Our fundamental business is growing like crazy, but unfortunately, as I told you, I don't make money off my technology. So every customer I sign on, I actually lose money. So our P&L doesn't look great from that, but our ecosystem grows like crazy. But doesn't mean our profitability grows like crazy, right?
Yes.
And in the stock market, unfortunately, in Thailand especially, this is not Nasdaq, right? What they look at is your profitability, right? They don't care about your revenue only. So if I was in Nasdaq, that would be fine. But here in Thailand, they care about profitability as well. So that's our big thing, and that's what we're trying to do in the next 4 to 5 years.
Okay, so that's wonderful, Kun Michael, and we look forward to seeing you listed soon. And all the best, Kun Michael. Thank you so much for your presence today.
No problem. I enjoyed it. So take care, and if there's anything else that we can share with your viewers, and let us know. We're happy to discuss further.
Okay, Kun Michael, สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ
Thank you all the audience for being with us, and this is Open Talk powered by TCC Technology. If you like us, don't forget to click like and subscribe to TCC Technology YouTube channel. See you in our next Open Talk. สวัสดีค่ะ